Hi, I'm Joe, head baker at Carlo's Bakery.
And I'm his better half, Grace, here to help him make some cookies.
We're gonna do Pignoli cookies today, but we're gonna do different versions.
Yeah, I personally...
We're not there yet.
I know,
so let's
but
make it
I
here
just
first.
like a little bit.
But you're jumping ahead.
I love these nuts.
You're jumping
Fried
ahead.
pistachio is my
We're
favorite.
jumping ahead.
Okay.
And I make the mix. People want to know how to do this. All right, so here we have almond paste. So we're gonna have to get this softened up. So the one thing about granulated sugar, especially when it comes to paste and cheeses and butter and stuff like that, sugar acts as sandpaper. So it'll soften up your cheese, your butter, or your paste. Without adding any liquid to it, this'll soften it up. It kind of melts it down and makes it easier. This is our granulated sugar. And the reason why we're using two kinds of sugars is because we still also want it soft and smooth. So we're gonna use the Confectioners Sugar that's sifted, very soft. You can use 10X, you can use 6X, that's fine. Still sift it because we want to keep it soft and light.
I like 6X.
So we're gonna slowly add our
I know you sometimes
sugar
tell
in
me that you're mixing because you just don't want to talk and you want me to go away.
I would never do that. I would never do that.
Can I put the rest?
Slowly.
Smell that paste, the almond paste, it smells good. It smells old world. Something about that smell is just old world.
We're gonna have about a half a teaspoon of honey. And this is not really for flavor, but this is for more of a binding agent. There's no leveling agents in this. There's no baking powder, baking soda. So the important thing is your egg whites, is when you add your egg whites. We got some ground cinnamon, and we're gonna do a tablespoon of, this is using vanilla extract. This is bourbon vanilla, very strong.
I could smell it from here.
Now the important part with this comes down to your egg whites, is that how soft the dough is gonna be. Now, for our purposes, it's gonna be like we're working at home, where we're gonna be bagging out. So the softer you make this, when it hits the oven, they can flatten out. You don't want flat Pignoli cookies. So now this is starting to really get stiff on me. So I'm just gonna add a little egg whites, and that'll help that out. Get nice and smooth.
I gotcha. A little bit at a time.
Oh,
Ready?
great. Yeah, got it.
All or more? Half.
Half. Now we're cooking.
And that looks like some pretty good dough, Joe.
We're gonna do a couple different things with this mix here. The first we're gonna do is the traditional Pignoli.
Pignoli, that's the most popular, and that
Well,
is
why don't you tell them a little bit about Pignoli nuts?
So Pignoli nuts there are a lot. You can get Chinese Pignoli nuts or you can get Spanish Pignoli nuts. Now the Spanish Pignoli nuts or the one from Portugal or Spain are the better Pignoli nuts. Or Italy are the better Pignoli nuts, okay? The Chinese Pignoli nuts, if you see them, they're gonna have more dots on them.
They're not as fatty. They don't have the same taste as the European ones.
So I did procurement for the bakery for many years, and they're about double the price, but worth every bit of flavor. Some things you just can't skimp on.
So why don't you get a pan and spray it and get the paper. Again, we're gonna cook this in a convection oven. So we're gonna put our parchment paper and we're gonna put it down with a little bit of...
So those of you who haven't seen Joe and I, you put this as like a little glue around the edges.
So this will keep your paper from blowing up, and it'll help you, especially with this. Even if you're not using convection, I would spray it because it's a very sticky mix.
I am a pistachio girl, so I enjoy these cookies with pistachios on it as well. But Pignoli, hands down, is our #1 selling cookie in the bakery.
All right. So bagging out, right? So you want the size, as long as it's consistent. Okay, if you want it bigger, you make it bigger. If you want it small, you make them smaller. If you're gonna bake them all at the same time, you want them to be consistent.
And this is gonna spread when it goes in the oven, so it is gonna be a little bit bigger than what he's putting onto the pan.
You wanna kinda leave the cookie up a little bit because you're gonna press the nuts onto them and they are gonna flatten out a little bit. Years ago, when I used to make these with your dad, we would make these the night before and leave them out because we didn't have convection ovens and everything was bagged out by hand. So you can imagine doing this, 500 times, all 500 pans of this.
It builds arm biceps.
So what we used to do is make the mix a little bit softer and then leave them out.
Right.
Overnight.
I remember that.
And then bake them the next day so they dried up.
Right.
When we came to Jersey City with the bigger factory and we started using convection ovens, I learned that we didn't have to do that because the convection dries out, will dry out the cookie. So these you can pretty much bag out, do what you want to do with them. If you want to bake them right away, bake them right away. Grace is gonna put the nuts on, so she likes the pistachios. Now these are roasted, slightly roasted and salted, these pistachios. The pignolis are not roasted and they're not salted. So we're gonna do some with pistachios,
And
some with pignolis, and we're gonna do something else.
So how's that? Perfect.
If you got sliced blanched almonds, on these are really nice too.
Right. So they all have the same base, but you could, change it up so that they look a little bit different on the table. These are truly addicting.
This is one of those, like those old Italian things, like some people just have their certain way of doing it. There's a certain way they like them. Everyone has their favorite.
Right. And pistachio is mine.
So this is the way I do it. Again, we go back to cooking and baking, science thing. Tradition is great. And of course, you always want to make the customer happy, and there's the way you do things. But you can have fun with recipes. You don't have to be stuck in one way. Some regions in Italy may do it some way. Some regions may do it another way. This is the way I do it. This is the way I like it. So here we're gonna do something a little bit different. So almost like a thumbprint cookie you can do. You can take a little 6x sugar or a little egg white on the tip of your finger. Make a little divot. Mm-hmm. Then here we just have some bake-proof raspberry jam. Bake-proof is important, so this way it doesn't run all over the place.
Almond and raspberry go really well together, so this is a really nice combination. And he made a nice deep pocket, so when you bite that cookie, you get a nice mixture of the almond and raspberry together.
Now what you can also do is you could put some almonds on top of this, or we can do a little sanding sugar.
Yeah, makes it look pretty.
It'll give it a glisten when it comes out of the oven.
Only on the ones with the fruit though.
Yes. And some we're gonna do plain, just some people like the plain cinnamon taste. All right, so we're gonna put this on the side and we're gonna do something different. This is really old school Italian stuff. I used to do with Grace's dad. Part of cooking or baking is you don't really want to waste anything. When you make a run of Pignoli cookies and they're done, you have all these nuts that are toasted that are at their best flavor at that point, and you don't want to waste them. So what we used to do, when we used to have enough of the toasted leftover nuts from the ones we baked, we used to make the same mix, and we used to add a little pistachio flavor to it. The cool thing about this, you're gonna get a green tint to the dough, and you're gonna get a pistachio flavor. We're gonna finish them a little bit differently.
It's one mixture, but you're getting a lot of different variety out of it, and which I think it makes it a little bit more interesting.
I'm gonna throw a little 6x sugar on the bench.
So that the dough doesn't stick to your bench.
You want to take consistent pieces of cookie, right? And you want to roll them.
Like a meatball almost.
Now, the sugar is going to help you manage it just enough till you can get it into your pignoli nuts. And we're going to make a horseshoe. Remember these? Mm-hmm. And then you roll it in the nuts.
Teamwork. A little bit too much nuts on that one, but
all right.
Never too many pignoli nuts. Then you shape it into your perfect little horseshoe. That one's a little bit bigger, so when you want to keep them consistent, because then when you bake them, you want them to cook evenly.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
So we're gonna put this in the oven. This would be at on a conventional oven. It'd be 330. because again, we're gonna have that hot air blowing around.
Right. Remember, if it's going in a regular oven, add 25 degrees. Spread the pans out so that it could circulate.
These are gonna go in for about 10 minutes.
Good job, Joe. Oh, they look pretty good. So see how there's the perfect brown around the edges? You don't want it darker than that, even though the middle is a little white.
And again,
still.
they're gonna bake while
They're on the pan.
the pan's still
Those
hot.
look really good. And see how the sizes all nice and proportioned? We're gonna let them cook a little bit more on the pan. When they cool off, we're gonna plate them up.
We picked up the parchment off the pan and we put them on a cool surface so they'll cool a little bit faster.
You just slide it right off and they'll cool a little
If you try to
quicker.
take these, if you try to take the cookies off the parchment before they're cool, you're gonna rip the center out. So, patience.
I know, I have none, but they smell so good. And then when they are cool, on the plain ones, a little bit of confectionery sugar. I'll pretty it up. I even like the confectionery sugar on the raspberries, but not on the nut ones. That's perfect. See how the bottom is just done like that? I mean, you know, golden and just perfect. I like to make a nice little variety. How pretty is that? Now a couple of the horseshoes. These are big. Whoop! We gotta cool a little bit more. All right. But actually, this one broke. Hey, oh my God, that is so good. Mmm, my favorite.
Just salt, a little salty.
You're making one dough, but it looks like you did a lot more work than you really did because you have a variety of pignoli cookie, pistachio cookie,
Raspberry.
anything that goes with almond. You could add chocolate to this. These cookies actually stay. So it's not like a chocolate chip cookie where you get, you know, a day or two, okay? These type of cookies will stay about a week. So I would store these in a Tupperware in the fridge.
Yes.
And I'm just gonna eat that. It's broke.
Explain it to me. You can have a whole one if you want.
Actually, it's real good.
Thanks for watching. That's our take on pignoli / a lot of other cookies.
So like, comment, and subscribe. You won't be sorry. More great stuff from Joe and me.
Joe and Grace.
Grace and Joe.
So what do you got to lose? Subscribe is absolutely free. You might pick up some tips and learn something. Yeah, you learn something every day from a different baker or chef, so check it out. All right, guys, thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Enjoy.